Hello, everyone. This is Nightwatch N8, your host of the Nightwatch Podcast.
Make no mistake, there's something deeply wrong with the president that is quick to call Republicans a threat to the country, but will not stand up to Russia or even take action against a Chinese reconnaissance spy balloon flying over U.S. military bases.
They are coming right at it. Wherever you see that single plane, you can see the little white speck. Holy shit. There it is. Hey, China, kiss my ass. Holy shit, that just happened.
He's going right at it.
But it's so, ours is so much, balloon's so much lower, isn't it?
No, take it down, buddy.
You think they're at the same height?
Oh, look at it, he's
Oh,
going
wait,
right for it.
something's going for
Oh,
it.
look at it, he just shot a missile.
Yep.
I don't think he did he?
Yes, he did. It's coming.
Off to the right. Look, he just
It's
shot
coming.
it.
Yeah, it's coming
He
off.
shot it, look, he shot it. Cool as shit.
I got it on video.
Did it break?
Yeah, it's coming down.
Holy snap.
Balloon's gone, it's coming down.
And so as soon as I heard about this news, I did as I always do. I went to the hipster, trendy thought leaders on the right, just to get an idea of what they were talking about on this particular topic. And so I did. I'll admit it. I watched a minuscule little amount of Timcast, and so I heard this guy. A lot of you out there have probably heard of him too. He's got quite a following. Jack Brosovic, I think is how you pronounce it. He literally starts out the show with this comment right here.
Look, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm not even going to introduce myself. That balloon should have been blown sky high the minute that it crossed U.S. airspace. And every single second that it hangs there is another reminder of just how owned our politicians, our system, our businesses are by the Chinese Communist Party. They should have lit it up. That is not a surveillance package on a balloon. It's a target.
No.
It is a target.
It's not a surveillance balloon. It's a trial balloon.
It is.
They're trying to see what they can get through.
And then, of course, I saw this clip from, our friend Alex Jones, the tip of the spear, right, of the InfoWar. And he can, pretty reliably, you can depend on Jones to take the most extreme, sensational angle on a story, right? And so this is the kind of rant that he goes on.
Over Montana is part of a larger, more troubling pattern. Dry run. Balloons called top delivery platform for nuclear EMP. Chinese balloon called dry run for EMP attack. China developing 4,600-mile hypersonic EMP missile that could plunge cities into darkness with chemical explosion. Secret military documents. Trudeau invited Chinese troops to train Canadian military bases for civil suppression. Red Dawn. A tale of China, EMP, and Transformers. America's Achilles heel. Newsmax. China's surprise. Years of the planning. An EMP attack. The Hill. China, Russia building super EMP bombs for blackout warfare. Free Beacon. Canada's ties to Chinese military underscores the weird contradictions in its foreign policy. Canadian invited Communist China to come to the country to participate in military exercises. On and on and on, and they're training in Mexico. Now, why is that so incredibly important? Well, Blinken postpones China trip following balloon discovery. U.S. government monitoring suspected Chinese balloon. Now they admit it. This is undoubtedly a dry run for an EMP attack and a saber-rattling exercise of end-of-the-world proportions.
So that's right. It's a trial run, guys, for an EMP attack, electromagnetic pulse. And they're going to wipe out the power grid. That's entirely speculation, right? Alex Jones, a bit sensational. You got to think that these platforms are designed, right, to encourage groupthink, encourage collectivism. It's always the ones with the biggest, loudest mouth who get all the attention and attract all the followers, right? And it's always this reactionary mindset, right? Like, and I thought of just recently, like, when is Twitter, just an extension of Operation Mockingbird? And if you know anything about Operation Mockingbird, just a quick read from Wiki here. Operation Mockingbird is an alleged, right? No, it's a proven large-scale program of the United States Central Intelligence Agency that began in the early years of the Cold War and attempted to manipulate domestic American news media organizations for propaganda purposes. According to author Deborah Davis, Operation Mockingbird recruited leading American journalists into a propaganda network and influenced the operations of front groups. Front groups. Antifa, maybe? BLM, even? Or what is it? I wish I remember the Patriot Front. Some of you've seen pictures of those guys. They all look like clones. They all dress alike. They all look like Agent Smiths. I think it's the Patriot Front. And then quickly, and I hope to cover this again in a future show in more depth. In a 1977 Rolling Stone magazine article, the CIA and the media, reporter Carl Bernstein expanded upon the Church Committee, which was, kind of like the 9/11 investigation right after 9/11. And it basically uncovered just about as much, nothing. So this reporter expanded on the committee's report and wrote that more than 400 U.S. press members had secretly carried out assignments for the CIA. So we're seeing this exact same modus operandi today. And so when I see Fox News flipping out, along with every other leftist news agencies, it was kind of funny to watch some of these, when this news first broke, right? When, despite the fact that they were tracking this, right, all the way from mainland China, but as soon as somebody posts a video on Twitter, we acknowledge that, Pentagon acknowledges that that's a Chinese spy balloon hovering over our nation, the center of our country. Only at that point, as soon as the story hit, some of these journalists, or can we call them that, fake news front groups, empty suits, right, bobbleheads, sock puppets. They were just like fumbling and stumbling over their words, right? It was almost to create this atmosphere of, oh no, the big white Chinese spy balloon is gonna get us, guys.
China caught red-handed lying about its giant spy balloon hovering over America. It was last spotted this morning in northeast Kansas, and that's after it was seen loitering in Montana, which is home to our nuclear silos and intercontinental ballistic missiles. Beijing claims it is a civilian aircraft used for meteorological research. That got knocked off course by bad weather. But the Pentagon says that's a bunch of BS. But Republicans say Biden looks weak with each second he keeps this communist balloon in the air.
Communist balloon. Communist balloon. Communist.
We ought to bring this darn thing down. We have the capabilities and tools to do that. I'm confident that we could have done so safely. I think we probably still can do so safely.
They could have shot that balloon down, and the biggest risk might have been hitting a cow, a prairie dog, or an antelope.
This is a brazen act. And so at the political level, we have to push back. We have to defend American sovereignty. And we have to make clear to the Chinese that we're not going to tolerate this.
They're overflying our nuclear sites, and they keep getting away with it because we let them. There's no consequence.
That tape? There's lots of questions, but the commander-in-chief is awfully quiet.
Folks, we're going to get to work. Thank you for coming.
Pop it, bust it up, do whatever you need to do to it. Imagine you had a neighbor you hated who tried to sleep with your wife, stole all your Amazon boxes, and killed your grandmother with a virus, and then floated a little drone over your backyard. You're just going to sit there and watch this thing and say, you know what? It's just a weather balloon. We're monitoring it. No, you're going to shoot that thing out of the sky.
Again, another psyop on the American people. from the Mockingbird Muppets in the media, right? And we're all just supposed to react in a panic, as some of these Congress critters did, and demand that daddy government come save us, keep us safe from the big bad Chinese man, right? I'm just not buying it, really. I'm just not buying this giant shiny object in the sky. It's not that credible of a story to me. In fact, it's really comical at this point. And just the way it was staged, to the point, like in broad daylight, that they would shoot this thing down with everybody watching, right? Even on live television, they just happen to be looking at just the right time. Boom! Oh, shoot! There it was, right? They weren't tipped off ahead in advance, right? They weren't told this is the time you should be pointing your cameras in the sky and you should be on air talking about this weather balloon. I mean, spy balloon.
I am checking around on several different websites here. We're checking with the Associated Press. We're checking Twitter on several different official. Oh, I believe it just happened there. That was it. Live, raw, and unfiltered. It appears that China spy balloon has now been shot down over the Atlantic Ocean. You are taking a live look here, live, raw, and unfiltered, as that balloon appears to be heading downward after it has been shot down.
As we're watching this exclusive coverage of this Chinese spy balloon going down there over Surfside Beach, South Carolina, if you could talk to us about what happened in terms of coordinating this to get to this point now, General Keane.
Well, we've had all of our sensors watching this, for some time, and certainly our military capability that was going to be involved got alerted. People have been planning it likely for a couple of days. I'm assuming the president, made a decision within the last 24 hours to take this out.
Yeah, they got what they wanted, right? I mean, everybody should be happy now, right? All the war hawks that came out of the dark corners to ruffle up their feathers, all calling for, as this article puts it, Breitbart, officials call to shoot down the alleged China spy balloon. Take the shot. And, I'll go through real quickly just a couple of these comments. Eric Schmidt, I know I was just named to the Senate Armed Service Committee yesterday, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say we shouldn't have a Chinese spy balloon floating over the United States of America. Take it down. Jim Jordan, Communist China, steals our intellectual property, hurts American manufacturing, supplies our enemies, distracts Americans on TikTok, flies a spy balloon over our country, and what's Joe Biden doing about it? Nothing. Marco Rubio. It was a mistake not to shoot down the Chinese spy balloon when it was over sparsely populated area. He goes on, this is not some hot air balloon. It has a large payload of sensors roughly the size of 2 city buses and the ability to maneuver independently. And, the Trumps even make their appearance. Donald J. Trump, at Real Donald Trump, posted this message on Truth Social, his own. Yeah, he still hasn't joined Twitter yet. Shoot down the balloon! Dang it! Can't be having no Chinese balloons floating in our airspace, guys. Come on now. Shoot that son of a bitch down. And then there was this article from just the other day. So, and then in this Times article here, they bring up the same question that I had. If China was really that interested in gathering intelligence, why wouldn't they just rely on their on satellites? Why be so obvious as to float a big giant blimp over the country and assume that they weren't going to be caught in the process, right? So this Times article, a balloon is spying on the U.S. from the sky. Here's why China may be using old-fashioned surveillance technology when satellites exist. And so it describes what happened. On Wednesday, a mysterious white orb was spotted floating above Billings, Montana, and U.S. security officials suspected it almost certainly to be a Chinese military surveillance balloon. The sighting sent politicians on high alert. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy called it a brazen disregard for U.S. sovereignty. And the Pentagon scrambled fighter jets to deal with it. However, even though the balloon was hovering over sensitive sites, including a field housing U.S. nuclear missiles, the Biden administration ultimately decided not to shoot it down. As officials advise, it didn't pose a threat for now, but its debris might. And then it goes on to describe a spokesperson for China's foreign ministry. The ministry later admitted that the balloon was from China, but described it as a civilian airship used for research, mainly meteorological purposes, and it had steered off course by the wind. And so here's the good part. Why use balloons when satellites exist, right? China has an extensive satellite network. In a November 2022 report, the Defense Department said China's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capable ISR satellite fleet had more than 260 systems, second only to the U.S., as of the end of 2021. And so a senior defense official noted Thursday that for China, the balloon flying over Montana, quote, has limited additive value from an intelligence collection perspective. Y'all think? But we're all supposed to be, like cowering in our closets right now. A nuclear bomb could strike at any moment, right? Hide under the desks, right? Maybe they'll start those drills up again in the schools. It's not too far from fact at this point, guys. When you start really seeing what's going on and where they're trying to take us on this sort of World War III narrative. They're trying to take the world down right now. So I guess, let me see. Beck Shrimpton, director at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, I guess, makes this person an expert. Quote, it's not that we haven't seen this before, but we are expecting far more from China's surveillance efforts. That's really all you can give us, China, really. We're expecting a lot more from you guys. If it's caught, what's the point? Quote, it is bold in that it was always likely to be detected. It was always likely to be seen, Shrimpton says. Again, these are experts. These are the people that we need thinking for us because we're incapable of making these kind of connecting these dots ourselves, right? And this other, expert here ends the article with this. It is a threat, no doubt, but how serious is it? I think it's pretty clear. If it's serious enough, I'm sure something more drastic would have been done by the U.S. establishment. So it is and it isn't a threat. That's one of those newspeak, doublethink kind of methods of processing their information. And then so just to put things in quick context here, this is from Al Jazeera, so, think of that what you will, but infographic U.S. military presence around the world. The U.S. controls about 750 bases in at least 80 countries worldwide and spends more on its military than the next 10 countries combined. And so here's the infographic, I guess. So it has those 750 bases in at least 80 countries. It has approximately 173,000 troops deployed in 159 countries. And some of the top ones here, of course, are like South Korea, 26,000, and Italy, 12,000. Germany, 33,000 American troops stationed in Germany. Interesting. And so I thought I'd ask the question, let's just compare apples to apples here, right? Not saying we're as red China. Let's call us a green apple, and let's call China the red apple. Let's compare apples to apples here. So how many military bases in foreign countries does China currently have? See what they say in this video.
Over the past few years, something's been happening in the small East African nation of Djibouti. China has been setting up a military base. It's the country's first overseas military base.
The United States military has about 750 bases overseas, across 80 countries and colonies. That means that about 4 out of every 10 countries have U.S. bases on them, across every continent except Antarctica. But having that many military bases abroad is normal, right?
This is more foreign military bases than any country or people or empire in world history.
In fact, only about a dozen other countries even have foreign military bases, with just 70 combined between them. That means the US has the other 90%.
That's right. America, upwards of 800 military bases around the world. China, 1 military base in Africa. Do we really have to be that afraid of the Red Chinese? Just posing the question. And so, this article. Okay, this article. Just to kind of build this little narrative here of the U.S. involvement and its military relations with the CCP. It's from just 2 days ago, this article. U.S. secures deal on Philippines bases to complete arc around China. And so here's a map of some of the current military bases, I believe, in the Philippines. And goes into the Cold War. Now, the Chinese government was not much of a military threat. You know, when the Cold War was winding down. I thought this part was relevant to today. These days, the U.S. is seeking access to places where light and flexible operations involving supplies and surveillance can be run as and when needed, rather than bases where large numbers of troops will be stationed. And of course, they acknowledge here in the article, the U.S. hasn't said where the new bases are, but 3 of them could be on Luzon, an island on the northern edge of the Philippines, the only large piece of land close to Taiwan. So there you go. I mean, there's a handful more to add to the tally there of U.S. military bases around the world. Some, you know, right outside China's back door, basically. You got to see things as a global chessboard, right? So you have this little chess piece and that little chess piece and this one over here is to distract you from what's going on over here, right? Smoke and mirrors, right, guys? When in reality, they're all kind of working towards the same end to take out the king, right? Or in our case, you know, as citizens, to destroy every smidgen of freedom, choice, to determine our own destiny, right? To destroy our way of life, to take us back, or to take us forward into this new neo-feudalistic world where only the elite own these uber technologies that they can use to keep us under their control. You know, I always try to tell people, you know, we got at least, at the very least, try to think 2 steps ahead. You know, why are they leading us all by the nose with this intel right now?
Developing tonight, search and recovery efforts continue as Navy divers try to find remnants of that Chinese balloon the Pentagon says was on a spy mission over the U.S. Parts of the debris already recovered are now at an FBI lab for analysis after the balloon was shot down off the coast of South Carolina Saturday. Pentagon officials say they tracked the balloon's every movement as it passed over sensitive military installations.
So here's another question I have. If indeed, the U.S. government is interested in retrieving any kind of intelligence from this sophisticated spy balloon here, why then, if you watch this close-up, this is the best shot I've been able to find of the actual fighter jet missile, why would they target the payload? Right? That little solar array and, whatever other kind of sensitive data gathering equipment was on board. Why does it look like the missile, and you can see it clearly right here, trajectory. Why does it appear as if it just blasted to smithereens? To where there's nothing left of the payload. How does that make any sense? Right? Wouldn't they, maybe blast the balloon itself, put a big old giant gaping hole in the side of the balloon, and let the payload fall in one piece, at least, right? Blasted to smithereens. Why would they do that if they wanted to collect any kind of intelligence from this thing? Oh, but I'm sure that they'll, contrive some kind of incriminating intel off of these little specks of material. Just like they do in, foreign wars, when they find these unexploded shells with, traceable identifying marks on, like serial numbers and everything. I'm sure they'll find something that's plain as day, incriminating China, and again, escalating the war in Ukraine. Like I said, these people are psychopaths, and they are trying to create at least the perception of another world war in order to completely destroy any semblance of freedom in this world. To bring the world to its knees, and out of the ashes, out of the chaos, they'll create their new world order, which will look horrifyingly similar to the Dark Ages. And again, I ask, who benefits? Cui bono? Is it the Chinese? If they already have the satellites in space, only second to America in their fleet of spy satellites, why do they need a air balloon floating over our country, waving to everybody, hey everybody, here we are, raid China, we got our eyes on you? That was really bad. That's not even remotely close to what a Chinaman sounds like. We raid China, we got our eyes on you. Is that better? So why didn't they just use their spy satellites, right? Right, guys? If they're trying to pull some intel out of us, somehow scanning device, sees through the earth that are hidden nuclear stockpiles out there in the field in Montana somewhere. Why didn't they just use their spy satellites? Why a balloon? Security theater. Create fear. Create fear in the American population of an outside threat, a greater threat, a threat that outweighs the real threat, in my opinion. The globalist criminal cartel that has captured all of our regulatory agencies, every branch of government. It wasn't the Chinese who followed the WHO/UN mandate by declaring a national state of emergency over COVID It wasn't the Chinese that kicked off Operation Warp Speed, right? It wasn't the Chinese that tried to bribe and threaten and force mandates upon the American population. Meanwhile, granting complete legal immunity to known criminal multinational corporations to basically experiment on even the most vulnerable members in society, down to little babies, little kids. It wasn't China that was trying to literally get under our skin. But no, we're supposed to be worried about this balloon 80,000 feet up in the sky, above ground level. We're supposed to be more concerned about that than some of these recent revelations from Veritas and others, pointing to our very own government, or some of the criminals within our very own government, let's say, being responsible for gain-of-function exercises. Yes, funding gain-of-function over there in China, the Wuhan lab, NIH, with Fauci. How about we have a People's Tribunal, a Nuremberg 2? How about we put the real war criminals on trial, right? Ones that are waging war on the human population with their population reduction bioweapons right now. I think that's a better war to fight. I think that's a more worthy battle to engage in. In any case, thanks everybody for watching. I hope all that made sense. I hope you see things perhaps from a different angle. That's what I'm here for, right? Think outside the box. This is Nightwatch N8, your host of the Nightwatch Podcast. Signing out.